Hey, John here with WCS Machinery. Today's video is an overview of the centrifugal compressor testing application. Let's get started by first pressing the My Dashboard button. The dashboard is a launching point to add a new compressor test, review any previous test, where we can edit, view the report, copy it, give it a different name, or delete it. We can also manage our compositions. Let's talk more about managing our compositions in just a minute. So let's take a look at this previous test so we can have an idea of what the interface looks like. So I'll press the Edit button here. At the top of the page we have two tabs, the Design Compressor Curve tab and the Test Data tab. We'll come back to the Test Data tab in just a moment. So let's look at the data entry. We need to input an inlet temperature and an inlet pressure, where we can select multiple temperature units and multiple pressure units. We also need the last impeller diameter, and we can select from millimeters or inches. And we need the compressor speed in RPM. The next section is the compressor curve data input, where we need to select the inlet flow unit, and we have multiple units to select. We also need to select the head unit, and we have several units that we can choose from. And then in this section we need to enter the data for 5 points taken from the compressor curve. Once we've done that, then we need to select a composition. We can select a composition from a drop-down list, or we can press the button to manage and add a composition. We can edit an existing composition that we selected, or we can go up here to the top right and select Add New and create a new composition. By selecting a component from this left list, press the Add Selected Gas to the right over here, and we can create a new composition. Once we're done, we press Save, and then press Done. Then we come back to our composition selection, and we can select a new composition if we had created it, or maintain the current selected gas composition as we will here. Finally, we can press the Plot Design Curve button. We get two plots where we show the head versus flow and efficiency versus flow. And we have the tags that show up for the data points that made up the curve, both for the head and for the efficiency curve. We can also plot the discharge pressure, discharge temperature, and gas power by pressing this button, where we see the discharge temperature is plotted on the right vertical axis and the discharge pressure is plotted on the left vertical axis against inlet flow. And if we hover over the curves, we see the tags to appear. And that's the same for the gas power below. We can also press Show the Data Report, where we list the input information, our suction pressure, temperature, and design speed. We have our compressor curve information, where we also show the outlet pressure, the outlet temperature, and the outlet flow and gas power. We also get a head rise to surge and a pressure rise to surge, along with the design gas composition. And in this section we have the test data, and we will take a look at that tab right now. So let's go up and press the Return button, which will bring us back to the test page. And then we can press the Test Data tab. On the Test Data page, we need data entry for each data point. So we will need a suction temperature, and again we can select from our units of temperature. We'll need a suction pressure, and we can select from our various units. And we'll need an inlet flow, and then select the unit for that flow. And that unit could be different from the design flow. It doesn't have to be the same, so we can select whichever we want. We also need we also need the discharge temperature. And if you'll notice that once we select the suction temperature unit, it's fixed to the design temperature. Also, in like manner for the discharge pressure, once we select the suction pressure unit, it fixes the discharge pressure unit. We also need the test speed in RPM, or the compressor test speed in RPM. And this speed may be different from the design speed. Finally, we need to enter a composition for our test. Now, this composition is going to be maybe and most likely is different from the design. So we can select a test gas, or we can select the Manage and Add Composition button and create a new test gas if we want. And in fact, we can create a test composition for each data point. So each data point doesn't have to have the same composition. They can vary, and it's not uncommon for that to occur during a test. Once we have the composition selected, we can register this new test point, and that will add it to this list below. So this just gives us a listing of all the test points that we have. So there's some things we can do. We can change the order of our test points if we wish, or we can edit a test point. Let's just say, for instance, we made a mistake in, say, this test point 2. So if I press the pencil, which is an editor, it repopulates the data input for that particular test, and we can go correct the data that we have made a mistake, and then press update that test point. Once we're happy with all of our test points, we can press the plot the test points, and this will give us two plots to the right where we are plotting the design curve and the test points as they would be in the design condition, as well as the efficiency. And as we hover over the test points or the design curve, the information tags pop up and gives us the data for each point as it's plotted. The same for the efficiency plot below. We can press the Show Data Report, and again, at the top we get the information for the design curve, and then toward the bottom, this is our compressor test data. So this listing is just the data points that we entered for the test, and then this list is the data that was recalculated to site conditions or your design conditions, and that's what's plotted in the test data page plots. This is also your as tested data, which is going to be useful in the site for a site test. So at some point you're going to do a performance test for this compressor at site, and this is the curve that you will use to compare to the test data taken at site. So you basically repeat the test but use the as tested as your design curve. And then finally we get the composition used during the testing. Now if we had several compositions selected, it would show each of these compositions and how they're named. So now let's press the return button, and it will take us back to the design compressor page. We can again plot that if we wish. We can go back to the test data. We can look at those points again if we wish. And now you have completed a compressor test and provides you an independent means to verify your manufacturer's test. So you can use the data report for your own independent compressor test and compare that data with the manufacturer's data. And if there is an issue, you can have a more informed conversation with the manufacturer to understand what the test results indicate. So thank you very much for the interest in WCS machinery software, and I hope this helps you. Thank you very much.